The Irrational Confidence Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and we are here. It is week number 9 in the season. The cream is rising to the top. It is getting close to Halloween. It's the spooky season. And I'm joined by my co-host, the man who opened the front door of the haunted house with a spooky. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Paps, I'm doing great. Can't believe it's October 20th. We're heading to week 9. A lot of the line right now, a lot of teams their season is at a fork in the road, unlike a spoon. So we're going to talk about cutlery today. And we're going to start really seeing who is still want to stay in race as a fringe playoff team and who is ready to focus on bowl season, and also what coaches are still on the hot seat and if they can survive or not and make it to the end of the year.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talked about it in our recap episode for week number 8. Billy Napier, we saw it coming. We've been early on it. We were waiting that this was going to be the week that he got fired. It just seems like I think there's 8 college football jobs open already.
8 or 9. There's 8 or 9 jobs open, and there's a lot more speculation across the board for others, and it's going to be a wild one. We didn't see much turnover last year, and I got a feeling there are probably only 4 or 5 jobs out there that'll be opened up here by December.
Yeah. But we'll talk about the coaching carousel when we get to the off season. We'll have time for all of that. Let's go to the games on the field here fresh. An interesting one in the SEC. It's going to be a noon kickoff. Ole Miss is traveling to Oklahoma, so I guess it's 11 a.m. kickoff in Oklahoma. Right now, time to record, Oklahoma is a 4.5-point home favorite. Over-under is set at 54.5. Each of these teams coming off of something a little intriguing. You take a look, Oklahoma kind of put the boots to South Carolina last weekend in Columbia, and then Ole Miss going into Athens and basically having their soul ripped out of them in that game, being up 8-9 points in Athens and then losing in spectacular fashion. This is a game that I think we're going to learn which one of these teams is truly one of a top tier program in the SEC. And that I also think whichever team loses this game is about ready to take a backseat to everybody else.
Agreed. This is one of those turning point games, and you kind of look at it. Trinidad didn't play that bad last week in Athens. I mean, he played 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, they had 2 or 3 and outs, maybe some play calling, but the Georgia defense made a lot of changes. They stepped up and they got off the field. But for 3 quarters, it was 5 straight drives, 5 straight touchdowns, going 65, 75-yard drives. If he can put that show together in Norman, they're going to away with the game. But he's facing a very good defense. He's going to have to be focused. And did he learn anything from that trip between the hedges to take into that fourth quarter? Got to play a full fourth quarter. You look at Ole Miss, their road games, survived Kentucky, lost in Athens. And if you look at Lane Kiffin on the road career-wise versus home, it's a major – it's that oomph to get them through that fourth quarter on the road. Here, and you look at what Oklahoma did. They got the boots put to them last year by South Carolina in Norman. They got a little payback this year. But the offense still, 24 points. It kind of felt like they left some meat on the bone. They really could have put South Carolina away a lot earlier, and they kind of still hung around. And that kind of leads me to believe that offense still, John Mateer's hand's not fully ready, but he's trying to gut it out for their playoff hopes. So this game really comes down to Ole Miss's offense, Oklahoma's defense. Because Oklahoma's offense and Ole Miss's sieve of the defense, there's going to be points scored. I think Oklahoma's going to find a way to move the ball, but can Ole Miss score and keep up? Because Oklahoma's defense, as we've seen with Brett Venables, is very good. And that's where it comes down to. Trinidad, what have you learned on the road? And can Ole Miss, can you get a stop early in the ballgame? Because you didn't versus Georgia, and that's what Gunnar Stockton stayed alive. So Ole Miss, you're going to have to rise up, learn from what your road trip so far, and dig deep and try to play for it. You're desperate now. You were playing with house money last week's undefeated team. Now you have to get in a desperate mode the rest of the way. It's on the line. You've got to find a way to figure it out and dig deep. Defense has got to find a way to get stopped. And if I'm Oklahoma, I run the ball down their throat. Because you look what Georgia did last week. It was 12 and 13 personnel, especially late in the ballgame. More emphasis in the red zone, especially. They ran the ball between tackles, wore them down. You saw in the fourth quarter, the play action started really developing. They didn't know if it was going to be a play action to the tight end, if it was going to be a jump off of the receiver in the flat, or if the run game was actually going to hit him, or if the quarterback run game is going to hit him. That mobile offense kind of layered on. And if Oklahoma can do that, they're going to put Ole Miss in a blender. Ole Miss has got to find ways to grow up. Last year's defense was fantastic. An amazing defensive line that allowed the secondary to play good. This year, the defensive line they brought back to the portal, not the same standard, but they've got to rise up and have a ball game. Trinidad, I think that offense can be fine. There's tons of weapons there, and Lane Kiffin can call a game. I don't know if they're going to score 38 points on Oklahoma. If they do, then they're winning the game by 20 points. But if they can put up 27 plus on Oklahoma, there's a very good chance they're winning that ball game, because I think we're in a shootout pace, and that offense might be able to win the track meet. Desperation breeds either a winner or someone who's just withers from the moment, and that brings me to the coaches. Lane Kiffin's a lot of drama about you getting a job somewhere else, Florida, Penn State, wherever. Where's your mind at? Are you focused on, and your agent focused on a job or getting you a raise, or are you focused on winning the football game and making the playoffs? Because right now, you're in Ole Miss, you have a better path to the playoffs than you at Florida. And if you focus on your job, you're going to get a raise and have the resource to continue to keep winning Ole Miss. More added pressure being at Florida. But you have to take advantage of this ball game here and win a road game. Because if not, eventually that's going to wear thin because you can't win the big one. You lost at Florida last year when it cost a chance for the playoff. You've got to find a way to win a road game. And that right there alone, the pressure puts me in the favor of picking Oklahoma in this ball game. Oklahoma's defense and the pressure on Lane Kiffin, the pressure on Ole Miss to win on the road, which they've not shown success to do in his tenure there in a big game. It's just too much rolling in one direction. And Oklahoma is going to play stiff enough defense to win a game 30-27 or 27-24, doing just enough to get a stop late. And Ole Miss will once again stumble on the road. And until that comes, Lane Kiffin, I don't care where he's at, is not going to be the elite coach. Because if you can't coach and win on the road, you're going to be good to nobody. Because eventually you're going to lose the ball game. You'll lose a game you shouldn't lose and stumble in a playoff game potentially on the road as well. So Brett Venables' defense does just enough. Mateer does just enough. And the Sooners keep their season alive and take down Ole Miss and put Lane Kiffin in a weird spot the rest of the year.
Fresh, I think that the collective college football world might owe an apology to Brett Venables. And I was thinking about this as I was getting ready for this game. I don't think we, as college football, people who watch college football and the fans, really understood how bad a situation he took over in Norman when Lincoln Riley left in the dead of night. Lincoln Riley was there. There's some recruits, and then all of a sudden he's like, "No, deuces, I'm out. I'm going to Southern Cal." He took your best player at the time, Caleb Williams, with you. You did the Dylan Gabriel experiment over there. I remember Bob Stoops comes in, kind of like serves as like a bridge coach, kind of where he was like a GM almost, and held their recruiting class slightly together. Venables kind of comes in after leaving Clemson and finds out that yes, you're in a year from now, you're leaving for the AC, you're leaving the Big 12 for the SEC. He kind of realizes that he has to put together a different style of team, and it's not going to be an overnight turnover. Like Brent Venables wasn't known as this amazing recruiter at his time at Clemson. He was always a good recruiter. He wasn't unbelievable. And then he slowly built up. And I think everyone was just very quick to dump on him last year and saying this guy maybe isn't a head coach. And I think he's proven the world wrong right now. I think he really is. He's doing a phenomenal job at Oklahoma. I never expected this. I expected them to be good. I don't think I expected 6-1 to start the year. In this game, go ahead.
You also kind of look at it, the pressure the coaches are on now. We're seeing guys get fired. There has to be a standard. Lincoln Riley leaving is one thing, but the standard right now, Billy Napier, you can't even win 8 games at Florida. That's a fireable offense. But James Franklin's standard of you can't beat a top 5 team or win a Big Ten title, that's a problem. There's the standard boosters have to have and understanding where they're coming from. Oklahoma had a prior history, but they hadn't won a national championship since Bob Stoops in 2000. So let's value the landscape here of who's firing and where we need to be of what's good football. I think you're right. We definitely have. I think we're a little too harsh on Brett Venables, and he's built a program at the core that's going to be hardcore and defensively minded, and they're going to play for you for a full 60 minutes.
Yeah. And I think the Oklahoma boosters and the president and the AD there kind of gave him a vote of confidence. Like, we realize how bad this situation is. Remember, what was it, 2 years ago, they gave him that extension that practically made him next to impossible to fire for 3 years, I think. I recall correctly. I really like this Oklahoma team. I like what he's done there with the defensive side of football. It reminds me of the old Oklahoma teams that I grew up watching that were just tough, hard-nosed defensive football teams. I think Oklahoma realized something last weekend. Over South Carolina, you go on the road. John Mateer, I still don't think he's himself. I mean, he's coming back from hand surgery. That's not something he's rushing himself back because he knows that he's the best chance for them to win. But Venables and that Oklahoma offense turned to Blaylock and Robinson to run the football. Like, hey, we have running backs here at Oklahoma, and usually fairly good running backs here that can attack a defense. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing in this football game. I know that everyone's going to look at Ole Miss and they want to talk about Trinidad. They're going to want to talk about maybe Austin Simmons. There's talk about him coming back on this one. But really, in my eyes, it comes down to, is Lacey able to run the football against Oklahoma? If Trinidad's in there, was he able to use his legs as the dual threat option against the Oklahoma defense? Who can run the ball in this football game? Oklahoma commit to the run, continue to pound Blaylock and Robinson, run Mateer when he has the opportunity, roll him out, give him some easy passes to do. I think those things, who can ever simplify the game of football. Because Oklahoma last weekend had 6 sacks against Lenore Sellers, who I still don't think Sellers is completely okay after his early season injury. And he may be seeing ghosts too, and there's all sorts of problems over at South Carolina. But are they able to get that type of pressure against Ole Miss? Georgia was not able to get that type of pressure on Chambliss until later in that football game. Is that Ole Miss offensive line able to hold on in this one? Are they able to keep that type of pressure away from Chambliss? I like Oklahoma as well in this football game. I need to see one of these teams simplify college football, run the ball. Whoever wins the rushing battle wins this football game. I'll take the Sooners in that one, though.
Yeah, it'll be a fun day to start off a good day of football.
Yeah. All right, Fresh, let's go to the American Conference, man. We've been looking forward to this game as well. The American Conference right now, leader in the clubhouse to make the group of 5 playoff spot here. The South Florida Bulls, they're 6-1, 3-0 in the American. Memphis, they're going to travel to Memphis. Memphis is 6-1, 2-1 in the American. Right now, time to record, South Florida is a 4.5-point road favorite. Over under is set at 63.5. A lot of points in this football game here, Fresh. I think Memphis crapped the bed last weekend. I think they started reading their own press clippings and thinking that they were better. They were the ones, they were on their way. They were looking forward to this game. And again, back in the day, before all NIL stuff, before the playoff and stuff, we would say you're just looking ahead on your schedule. You were looking towards next week to your big matchup, and you didn't take care of your business. South Florida, their one loss on the year is to Miami. Now, they got drubbed, and they really haven't played a bunch of other people on this one outside of Florida, but we've seen how bad Florida is. Fresh American football, fantastic. Let's see how this one goes out.
These two teams, you got Tulane and Navy also. It runs 4 deep, and I think North Texas is pretty good too. There's 5 legit football teams in that league. This game, I think you hit it right in the head. Looking ahead, it's a UAB. We're 23.5-point favorites. An interim coach, Trent Dilfer, gets fired, and you completely bleeped the bed. And maybe that was karma for how lucky they got versus Arkansas, because if you watch that Arkansas game, they were very fortunate. Arkansas should have beat them. But everything's still in front of you if you're the Memphis Tigers. And you kind of look at, you have to win out the rest of the way, because that one loss to UAB is going to have a lot of people scratch their head. Like last year, Boise State was undefeated. This year, if they're like, you lost to UAB, one of the worst football teams in the country, you have to win out the rest of the way. You have opportunity. You got USF this week. You got Tulane in 2 weeks, and you got Navy the week of Thanksgiving. All 3 at home. All 3 ahead of you in the American standings. So you beat them, you chip away, you win the tiebreakers, you potentially host the American Championship game. One loss to UAB, but you're a conference champion, 11-12-1, beating all of those other teams who are pretty quality. You're going to be in yourself. You're going to be in a good situation. It's not like the season's over, but you have 0 room for error. You have got to come out and focus in offensively and defensively. Ryan Silverfield, you've done it. 2 years ago, you went to Florida State. Obviously, you beat a bad Florida State football team. You beat Arkansas, but you're beating name programs. You've done this before. You took This program has been to a Cotton Bowl, a Fiesta Bowl. They have been to big events. They've played big games. You just have to focus and keep the mindset. Maybe that loss was actually a good thing, kind of resets them in the middle of the year. But we'll find out because this team they're playing now simply reminds me of Arkansas. Byron Brown can run. He can throw. This team puts up points. They have scored 63, 54, 63, and 48 in their last 4 games, averaging 41.7 points a game, 7th in the country, throwing for 260, rushing for 215. That's 476 a game on average. They can play defense. Look what they did. I mean, look, Florida's Florida, but they were able to maintain the moment in the swamp and shut down DJ Legway, keep them from running the football. They got lucky on some Florida penalties. They survived. They did meet a very good Miami football team and got beat, but this team has maintained its focus and kept fighting through. They are battle tested. They've seen the big boys. They understand where they measure up. But this is a road test now. It's a conference game. It's not like, oh, it's Miami. Oh, it's Florida. It's a conference game with a lot of the line. You win this game, if you're in USF, you are definitely the driver's seat. I have them ranked at number 18 in the country. They're the only team that's ranked in the top 25 that I know of on this point. I think Navy and Memphis are still back on the outside looking in. You really put yourselves in that driver's seat to get that spot. Is that the pressure that Alec Golich and the entire team in Todd Orlando on the defensive side are able to keep their players ready to rock it, locked in? This is a coaching mindset. This is Byron Brown staying calm, keeping the offense ready to go in down distance, managing them the entire football game, not letting the moment get too big. Alex Golich is the head coach, maintaining the entire program, keeping the offense in sync, and Todd Orlando keeping that entire defense locked in. You are now the hunted. Now Memphis is coming after you. Even though it's one loss in the league, they're at home. You are now their enemy, and you have the target on you. You are the ranked team. You've got to live up to that. The last time you were ranked, you went to Miami, you got smoked. You've got to prove yourselves different here. The committee's waiting for you. People are waiting for you to fall. You have got to show them that you're battle tested and ready to go. So this is a big game, I think, USF football history. Because right now, there's been a lot of funding for a whole brand new facility, an on-campus football stadium, half with lacrosse, half with football. A lot of facility upgrades going on. You've got to prove it. Alex Golich, there's obviously been your name's been out there for some higher jobs. You win this kind of game, you start building momentum, you get that job. If you don't, you go to the back burner of the other candidates. Because there's a lot of pressure on USF to get this job done. And that's, I think, works in Memphis' favor because Memphis has battle tested the years past. They've done it before. Throwing the football, running the football, playing defense. They've been there. Last year, we thought that they were going to actually be the team that's really going to compete with Boise State, and they kind of faded early. This year's quietly been in the weeds, just doing their thing. Maybe this is the game where they come in there and get after it. They're going to be at home, but there's just something about this USF team. I'm going to ride the wave with the Bulls. Give me USF. Somehow Byron Brown being the veteran quarterback, I trusted him on the road. USF just had the feel about it. Kink in the armor kind of hit last week, and they got lucky versus Arkansas. I could see this cascading pretty early, and that offense for USF is just so lethal that Todd Orlando's defense and that pass rush late in the ballgame are allowed to take over. It's not going to be a blowout, but I see USF surviving and carrying on and pushing toward the playoff. But it'll be definitely a fun one in American to watch on Saturday.
Fresh, let me talk to you a little bit about Alex Golich. He's going to be one of the top names regardless on anyone's coaching search, especially what he's done over at USF. Right now, the jobs that are currently open and available, what's his best fit?
Well, he has family ties to Arkansas. His wife is from Arkansas. Tidbit there. The Florida job, Florida fans think they're getting Lane Kiffin. I don't know if Florida wants to pay a buyout and then pay another coach.
I don't think Florida can go 2 group of 5 coaches in a row.
But if I'm Lane, I ask for the world. How much you're going to lie to the assistants? There's going to be a major financial contribution, which Florida never makes. And at Florida, you aren't, as much as everyone loves football, it's a basketball school, folks. The basketball team's won national championships recently than the football team has. Baseball has won more. It's all those sports are winning championships. You are the flagship, but you're going to get all the pressure and you're not going to get as much of the celebration. I think Golich would fit well in Arkansas because they're already known for offense. No one ever looks at Arkansas in the past 25 years, 30 years says, hey, man, that defense is amazing. It's give me all the running backs, Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, etc., Matt Jones, Ryan Mallett, or the current product right now, Taylor Green. Like, they are known for scoring points. And he can recruit the Southeast. He was obviously at Tennessee. He knows the SEC. He knows Florida. Him at Arkansas would be a lot of fun to watch. The North Carolina job, maybe Virginia Tech, but I think it'd be easier for him to recruit Arkansas because you have tons of resources, whether it's the Walmart family or Jerry Jones. You could go out there and make a hire. I think that'd be good. But there's still obviously an interim coach there that's trying to prove himself that he's worth a retread.
Yeah.
But Golich is definitely a job. I think anywhere he goes, if he stays in the Southeast, he'll be in a good spot.
Yeah. I think he's going to be the number one candidate for a lot of those jobs, actually. I'd be intrigued to see if Vitek would take a swing at someone like him. Because I
They haven't had
think
offense
that,
in a long time.
yeah, like Florida, I think is out. I don't think Florida's going after him as much as they probably should, but they won't be able to go from Bubble Screen Billy, came from Group of Five, to Bullish, and Arkansas makes a lot of sense in my eyes. But South, and again, Virginia Tech, I don't think he's going up north to Penn State as well. I don't think
No.
he's going to go, because you need something a little bit different in Penn State, although I think he'd be successful there as well. I don't know. I'm intrigued to watch South Florida this week because of the fact his name's going to be thrown around. What impact does it have on this team? These teams, as I'm looking at, are almost identical. They are very, very similar with each other there. With what Brandon Lewis is doing over at Memphis, what Byron Brown is doing over there at USF. Both offenses are run by the quarterback. You take a look, they both have 10 interceptions on the year. They both have forced 7 fumbles. I think USF has 16 sacks to Memphis's 12 sacks. They get some pressure on the quarterback there. It's intriguing to watch these two programs and see which one is going to come out on top. Again, Memphis might be playing a little more loose this week because of that loss to UAB. I think the pressure to South Florida is going to eventually start to hit them. I don't know if it's going to be this week, though. I don't know if it's going to be this week, maybe in 2 weeks when they got to go up to Annapolis and play Navy. On 3 weeks, that technically is, they got bye worked in there. But again, I don't think you're going to go to UAB or Rice. You're not going to struggle with those two. UTSA is an interesting thing, but you get them at home. It's either going to happen this week or it's going to happen at Navy. And when does that pressure cook? What type of team are you going to know? Sam Ratigliano, who's an old coach of the Browns, used to say that quarterbacks are like tea bags. You don't know what you're going to get with them until you throw them into hot water. I feel that same way about USF. I don't necessarily know what we're going to get with them until we throw them in truly hot water in their own conference there. That's going to happen here. I just get this sinking suspicion that Memphis is going to come away with a win here. I would take Memphis in the +4.5, just to kind of like hedge my bet a little bit on this one, because I do think South Carolina will win, but I just get a feeling that the home team is going to be a little more loose than South Florida will be.
Yeah, that pressure's ramping up. And Byron Brown being there for a few years, this year 3 in South Florida, you have to have that trust and that deep breath. Last year he was injured, but how big is the moment? Offensively, they really didn't show up too much versus Florida, but they got the job done when it mattered. They made a drive down the field goal, and then Miami didn't show up at all. So this is that also a moment to your point of where's that focus at? Where's that moxie? Can you execute with it all on the line? It's a big spot. You got to deliver.
All right, Fresh, let's go over to Nashville. We got a big one over there. The Missouri Tigers are traveling to Vanderbilt. Vandy, 2.5-point favorite, over under set at 52.5. The magical season of Vanderbilt is continuing. They have looked really good throughout this season. That win versus LSU, it was a huge get for them. I mean, LSU is on their way to Fraudville, and Brian Kelly could be out of a job in Baton Rouge. But as you've said before, Fresh, that's a logo win for a program like Vanderbilt. That's a logo game. That's a logo win. Missouri, I was looking at Missouri again. They're 6-1 on the year. They're ranked what, 10th? Who's their best win? A double overtime to Auburn?
Kansas.
Beat Kansas by 11 at home.
Yeah, I would say that Kansas win is their best win of the year.
This is my problem with Missouri, though. Every single year we get to this point in the season, and then you look back at their schedule and you say, like, who have they beaten? Who have they played? And they're like, oh, well, we're 7-1, 8-1. They haven't beat anybody. Missouri, if you want me to stop looking at you like I'm just waiting for a reason to throw you back into Fraudville like you're a prisoner on parole. Like, seriously, Missouri is on parole from Fraudville right now. That is what Missouri's job is at Fraudville. Prison guard there. They're a corrections officer. I'm throwing them back into the Fraudville prison if Missouri loses this game to Vanderbilt. Like, Missouri has to win this football game. Vandy is just playing with goodwill and house money galore. Like, they are just loose and enjoying themselves here. They get a bye week after. They've got to go to Austin, Texas, which is going to be a tough one for them. I mean, Texas isn't that great, but again, going into Austin, I trust Diego better than I trust anything that Missouri's got going on right now. I don't know. What do you got with it?
Very true. They left one on the table versus Alabama, and they were kind of like, it took them a while to get going. Pagula didn't play that great. Ahmad Hardy didn't run that. They survived Auburn. And this is the week, though. I want to see how they respond. Their schedule doesn't get much easier down the road. I think they have also Oklahoma. I think they have A&M and Oklahoma as well. They have to go face. Missouri's in a tough spot, and the offense is starting to show its ugly neck. Yeah, their pass rush is great. Their defense is actually the defense is pretty good. The offense is starting to show that the last 2 weeks, the offense is failing them. It's failed to versus Alabama when Fabella and Matt Hardy and all them had to show up, and it didn't really produce much versus Auburn. Vanderbilt's defense is nothing to shake a stick at. They're going to come fight you in the mouth. They're going to be physical with you. So if that offense doesn't show up this week, that puts Drinkowitz looking, hey, do I go take a job somewhere? Because his name's been floated at Florida. His name's been floated at Penn State. Sometimes you want to get out before, it gets worse. And you don't want to show your true colors. You kind of you want to leave before you're fired. And that's a rule for any job, folks, by the way, out there. If you look at the career advice, always leave it ahead. Don't wait until you're after the fact. Make sure you get out before. He also might have that mindset of he knows the body of the football team. He knows what the budget restrictions are at. And if this team doesn't win, he's like, well, I can't keep showing that I'm a fraud too much. I got to get paid while I can. So this is a big game for him. Being on the road, Vanderbilt, that crowd is going to be hyped. That team has riding high. Game day's in town. And before we start the game day conversation, folks, if Memphis had beaten UAB, they'd be in Memphis. But Memphis choked. So the fact that people are mad, this is the hilarious part. Yes, they're in the SEC, but the fact people are mad that game day is at Missouri and Vanderbilt, 3 years ago, we would have never thought Vanderbilt and Missouri would be getting game day. So let's pump the brakes on the SEC bias from that perspective. Let's go look at it where Vanderbilt's getting college game day in late October. That is the program. That's a program infused element right there that is really cool to celebrate. And that brings me to Clark Lee, because there's rumors of well, Clark Lee, he was at Notre Dame. He can go to Penn State. He's running the middle. He's a Vanderbilt alum. You see a guy right now. This is where he's built Vanderbilt from nothing. He's got all the facilities coming in. Took him a few years to do it, and they were patient with him. This is year 5, I believe. His first 3 years were rough. They were getting the doors beat off from a lot of people. He brought in the right guys. Obviously, Pobby coming in injects some life. But here they are in year 5. Facilities are looking better. Recruiting is on the up, and they're winning games. They aren't just being Vanderbilt. So sometimes we can't rush. Expectations are killing coaches. At Florida, expectations, everyone wants Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer. But look what, all he had to do was win 6 games at Vanderbilt, and everything else after that is gravy. So we have to maybe temper expectations in certain programs. You can't live in the past. You have to live in the moment. Florida fans living in the past. Penn State fans, I'm going to say it right now, living in the past. Joe Pa's been gone a long time. 1982, I think, was last national championship. Get over yourself.
Like
Live in the moment. What are your expectations just to win a football game? And Clark Lee has brought that mentality in. And they are taking it one game at a time, and that entire team is bought in. They are physical. They hit. They tackle. They show up, and they do not fade in the fourth quarter. They are very, very mentally strong, that nothing actually phases them. And that right there keeps you in a game. It allows those comebacks. It allows that game to go one possession, back and forth, and thinking, we're only down a touchdown. We can get this. That right there itself is the reason why I trust Vanderbilt in this football game. Clark Lee is a very calm, mild-mannered head coach, but he is intense. Eli Drinkowitz, he's very fun, outgoing. I think he puts on the comic relief a bit to maybe draw more attention to the program. Kind of like, hey, seek the attention. What you need to seek? You need to seek an offense that's going to show up with a big game. You need to be able to get an offense to deliver on Saturday, because if not, everyone's going to start looking at Missouri and be like, yeah, but you are who you are. We know you're in Fraudville. And Vanderbilt, I have them at number 10 in my rankings. They're a legit set, maybe potential player for an SEC championship game spot, because A&M, I don't trust A&M. Things are in line up for Vanderbilt to be almost a lock for a playoff spot. It is a very real possibility. We talked about this a little bit. Indiana, Vanderbilt meeting in the playoff in itself. So if Vanderbilt can come out here and just do what they do, nothing special, just block, tackle, run the football, Pavia do his thing, they're going to beat the junk out of Missouri. The only problem is if Missouri can get a lead and allow that pass rush to get after Pavia and Damian Wilson and the rest of those guys to really dictate, that's where it can kind of get dicey. They have to be themselves. Do not try to be too bigger than the moment. Be physical, be Vanderbilt football, and you'll take care of Missouri. And in the end, I think they win by double digits. I think they win by 10 plus because eventually that crowd's going to start building. They're going to be hyped, and that momentum is going to build to a point where I don't think Missouri on the road is going to be able to stop it. Vanderbilt almost there at a very good spot when they win on Saturday to be in the college football playoff, and that right there is going to send shockwaves through college football.
They remind me of Indiana last year. Very, very good team. Reminds me, and I'm rooting for it. I'm here for it.
And it brings me to another point. Look, transfer portal, like NIL, people have money. And there's been bags given out. Like Mark Cuban could be handing out Mike McDonald's bags all he wants if he really wanted to. What he's doing actually out in the out for Indiana. It's the transfer portal. It's guys who are transferring, have multiple transfers. They can bounce around and find a home. And there are that as it is where the guys can transfer multiple times because in our age, you got one transfer in your 5-year spirit. Outside of being a grad where you can graduate and then go, you had to sit out a year. You had to sort of sit there for a little bit. And guys were scared to transfer.
Conference.
Guys were scared to transfer. Like, I don't want to go anywhere because I have to sit out a year. My clock's already started. I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to deal with it. That right there, it offers chaos and unpredictability. But seeing schools like Vanderbilt and Duke and Indiana and others who are being able to compete and allowing other guys to get opportunities, get more chance to showcase their talent has been great. It's hit like Alabama went through a period where they lost depth. Georgia's going through it right now. It'll hit Ohio State eventually, where some of these bigger programs that talent, you won't have the 3 deep. You'll have a 2 deep. That 3 deep and 4 deep, it's going to be tough to hold the guys. And that talent is spreading, and the chaos will continue to keep ensuing across the country, week in and week out, year in and year out.
Yeah. I think it also brings back to another point that everyone needs to be aware of. We are in a different age of college football. It happened in the we went to the playoff era, and then we went to the transfer portal era and NIL era. All of these things, you cannot look back onto college football and have an expectation of the same results that you had 10 years ago. Again, University of Florida, Penn State, all of them. You need to change your expectations for the time being. Now, you put someone out there that's a proven winner, you develop that program, you build it up, you set your expectations to that. You let that person drive those expectations. You don't set the expectations based on what was 10 years ago. Because if you do that, and again, I'm speaking mainly to Florida here, I think Penn State was pretty reasonable. They gave James Franklin a pretty long leash for that, for how many years he was there. But Florida, man, and I don't want to make this a whole segment about Florida because I do want to talk about Vanderbilt, but I'll bring my point around. Florida thinks that Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier grow on trees. Vanderbilt, you're saying this fresh, has done this the right way. Missouri, as much as I think they're frauds, has done this the right way. Now, what Missouri needs more help from their AD. They need more help from their athletic department. I looked up Missouri's next 5 years of non-con opponents. There are 3 Power 4 opponents right now over the next 5 years are Kansas, Illinois on a neutral site, and Colorado. Missouri, if you want to be in this conversation, again, I get it. You schedule teams 5-6 years out. You don't know how they're going to be. Alabama did not expect Wisconsin to have the bottom drop out on them these past 2 years when they scheduled that football game. Vanderbilt's built this the right way. Missouri's built this the right way. I think Pavia is the better quarterback. I think he's going to lead this team here. I think Vanderbilt is on one of those magical type of seasons, and Missouri might be on their way back to pride, though, for me.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, this is for Bullo's game, he's got to step up because he really didn't show up versus Alabama last week versus Auburn. If he's going to be the guy, he's going to have to make some big boy throws on Saturday to keep that game going because Ahmad Hardy, they all start keying out on him. This defense for Vanderbilt, they're going to tackle and they're going to hit. But this is maybe what Drink has got to do because you look back on it. What's his outside of winning the Cotton Bowl against a depleted Ohio State football team, what's his biggest win at Missouri?
I'd have to go look.
So it's just more like at some point, Drink, you've got to deliver a big monumental win, because then the whole shtick of you're running your mouth and smiling, talking jokes and all that, it's going to run your own. The fan base is going to turn against you. You're going to become a victim of your own success because you're not winning the big games. At least at Indiana, when they beat Illinois, it earned Cignetti credibility, because at that point he hadn't won a big game, but he put the boots to him, and now you're like, the lights were the brightest, and he put up 60 plus in Illinois, and then he went out and beat Oregon. That dude they could build a statue for him right now in Bloomington, but he did it, and he set the tone. I'm not just beating the bad teams. I can actually beat a good team, and I've learned from what I was last year. Drink has not learned yet, but he has to deliver, because Parkway, he beat Alabama. He can walk around and say, I have as many wins as Kirby Smart does against Alabama in my career.
Right.
One.
All right, Fresh. Let's go over to the Big Ten here. Illinois Fighting Illini, they're going to travel out to Seattle, Washington to face the Huskies. Both these teams 5-2, 2-2 in the Big Ten here right now. Washington is a 4.5-point favorite. I feel like a lot of the games we're talking about are either a 2.5 or a 4.5-point favorite in these games. Over under
makes
set
it good for Vegas betting.
It really does. Over under set at 55.5 in this game. Let's talk about this Washington Huskies team. I think that we need to show some love for the Huskies with what Jed Fish is doing up there. Desmond Williams Jr., man, this kid, 72% completion percentage. He's got 360 yards rushing. He's taken 18 sacks. The kid does take some hits. They do have Coleman, the running back, who is also really solid, but he's struggling to find the end zone as of late. This Huskies team, I think people will look at them and kind of like it's a write-off team. You're not paying enough attention to them because they're up in the Pacific Northwest. This is a pretty strong Huskies team, and I like this Huskies team. Illinois, I like this Illinois team still. I think they peaked last year. I would consider them, if they kind of hung around this 20 spot, I think they would be a candidate next year to visit Fraudville. I don't necessarily know if we can put them in just yet, because I don't think the expectations have been there long enough, though. Luke Altmaier's looked really good at times, and then he's looked very average at times. But again, Illinois' 2 losses are to Indiana, the number 2 team in the country, and to Ohio State, the number 1 team in the country.
They were non-competitive in both those games, so that's where I kind of want to see, as Illinois, like, give me something here. So this is last call for alcohol between both these teams. Both 5-2 and 2-2 in the Big Ten. This is last call alcohol, and you have to win out. And it kind of brings me to my first thing about Washington. Desmond's been great. I've been a big fan of Jonah Coleman, but who have they beat? You talk about Missouri, who has Washington beat? Because I was starting to believe, and they played well early on versus Ohio State, but then you get the doors beat off of you, and you get bludgeoned by Michigan, an average football team. And it was like, you were there, you were ready, and then 24-6 to Michigan. You make, Bryce Underwood, and, that defense looked phenomenal back to 2023. And it's like, all right, Jed, are you hearing, there's even talk like, oh, Jed's going to go to UCLA. Where's that mindset of this Husky program here? Because if you lose this game, all right, we're just going to play out this schedule, whatever, and just get it done. If you win, there's a path. Even though you have USC, but that also provides an opportunity to get a ranked win. There's a path for the Huskies to be a fringe playoff team. Illinois, there are no other opportunities. Look, your rest of your schedule is Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Northwestern. You have to win this ball game. You can't go and make up for it later. This is you win this, you're 10-2, you're a fringe playoff team, and you have at least a chance to move forward. Because you know what they're going to say? Your 2 losses with Ohio State, Indiana, even the way it plays out, maybe 2 top 8 teams in the country. Granted, they start having the conversation of, what are all the 10-2 teams? You got doors beat off you, but you play 2 good teams, and that helps where they plays out. At least you're in the conversation. If you lose 9-3, I don't care if you're done. So this is it's a desperate game of who wants it more. Who is going to dig deep into the inner depths of their coaching ability, pull some out of their bag, which players are going to play the full 60 minutes, who's going to tackle, who's going to cover, who's going to block. Garrett Bielema always builds a big offensive line and runs the football. They aren't running the ball successfully this year as they usually have. And he challenged his offensive line to own the line of scrimmage. Can that defense show up? Because in the big games, they have not showed up. They were ticky-tack for USC. They survived and got that win by the skin of their chins. Is a defense going to step up on Saturday afternoon and take out Desmond Williams, take out Jonah, and an offensive-minded head coach? This is going to be, it might get ugly at times, but in the end, if I'm telling my team, I don't care by how much, as long as we have one more point than the other team. You go out there and you fight for 60 minutes and just get it done. We'll deal with the rest of the nonsense later. Let's just go win the football game. There's going to be good things that are going to happen. There's going to be bad things that are going to happen. Just take it to the next play and fight. Because at this point, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, it's not about style points anymore. It's just survive and advance. Keep yourself in the conversation. Like, imagine you're dating. Just keep yourself in the conversation. Don't put yourself out of the game. So experience. Luke Altmaier has tons of experience as quarterback. The Jed Fish is an offensive coach. He's won at Arizona. He's been in the NFL. He's been around. How does he keep Desmond Williams' mindset for the football game? I'm going to go with Illinois in this game because they have been a little more battle tested. They've seen the big games. This will be their fourth real big game of the year. Actually, fifth. They beat Duke. They have shown up at other times. They've at least had the battle scars to prove it. Washington, that loss to Michigan made me not believe anymore. And that's where I'm going to sit in this one, where it's just, they almost had me, but I'm not there. I got to go with Illinois in this game to sort of survive and keep their season alive. And who knows? The Illini might squeak into the playoffs when it's all said and done in the end.
To prevent me just repeating kind of a lot of stuff you just said there, Fresh, I lost the same amount of faith with Washington. I like this Washington team. I think they're ahead of schedule. I think this is a team that could, if Jed Fish stays there in 26, that this could be a very competitive and a team to watch out for next season for the playoff. I think they're a year away if they continue to build. Illinois, this was the year that you were supposed to compete for the back end of that playoff spot. I don't think anyone expected Illinois to beat Indiana. Well, again, depending on who you were. But after that Indiana loss, the moment that was big for me for Illinois was when they played USC the following week. They could have kind of rolled over and died, and USC has shown that they're a better team. They hung on in a very ugly football game, but they hung on to win that. Their last game was a loss to Ohio State. I want to see them respond again, same fashion. I think this team is tough, and I think they do respond well when someone smacks them in the mouth. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this football game as well. I like Illinois just a little bit more than I like Washington in this. So give me the Illini. Give me Brett Bielema to kind of prove that he is a fairly good coach.
And just stay alive. Just stay alive. One more week. Yep. Just keep it going. One more week.
Just like the Bee Gees, man. All right, Fresh. Let's go back down south. This one is down in Baton Rouge, Texas A&M. AP has got them at number 3 in the country. They're 7-0, 4-0 in the SEC. Somehow the LSU Tigers are still ranked at 5-2, 2-2 in the SEC. At time of record, and this is the telling sign to me, Fresh, that LSU is on a one-way path to Fraudville here. Vegas has them as a 2.5-point home dog. This is a game at night in Baton Rouge. We've talked about this before. LSU is almost never a home dog in LSU at home in Baton Rouge. I think Vegas doesn't respect them. I really don't. I don't think Vegas respects their offensive line. I think Garrett Nussmeier is dealing with something. I think Brian Kelly is kind of out of his element in this football game. And I think Texas A&M's got a lot to prove and wants to show that they can be true contenders and not fall off like they did last year.
Yeah, I'll take it right there. This is last call for alcohol in the Bayou. Drinking for a party, not drinking your sorrows away. Like the party drinking, this might be the last one here because this offense, the offensive line's been crap. They can't run the football. Where's Durham at? Durham's been non-existent. This passing attack, non-existent. Nussmeier has been playing hurt, trying to buck through it. But everything is just very clunky and dysfunctional. Those 2 turnovers, when they played South Carolina in the red zone, they should have beat the doors out of South Carolina, throwing 2 picks in the red zone. He just wasted opportunities, wasted drives. There's been something wrong. The Brian Kelly era, outside of the Jaden Daniels Heisman Trophy season, it's just been a disaster. It's painful to watch, lack of execution. It hasn't been there. And then defensively, weeks are not. The secondary was not good. The pass rush was not good. That LSU defense, there's just a bunch of yellow helmets out there in the field. Can't get a stop. There was just communication issues in the back end, lack of tackling. I don't care what Weeks is your heart and soul. That's one player. You have 11 guys out there you recruit at a high level. You be able to deliver when it matters, and they just can't. They can't get off the field. Against average football teams, they survive. But against good football teams, they fade in all aspects. And that falls on coaching. Not just the players, that falls on coaching. They've got to find a way to dig deep in the bayou on Saturday night. Death Valley, after dark, all the voodoo, all the Cajun magic, you got to bring it out. And you're going to need it. And the one thing that is going in your favor is that there is a mental block for A&M football. Their hardest battle is being successful. Their fans are terrified. There's this a funny thing if you follow anything on social media, there's a battle about 8-4. Like it's a battered Aggie syndrome. 8-4 is always what happens somehow, some way. They fall apart when it matters down the stretch. This fan base is terrified. They're terrified they're 7-0 because they know the pain is gonna come and it's gonna hurt worse if this team just chokes. Going to a rival in LSU at night with no pressure on the LSU Tigers, it brings some mystic forces, some Cajun forces, witch doctor nonsense to this game. Can Reed go in and get the win? Can Mike Elko coach? Because right now there's rumors of him going to Penn State because he's from that area, and he even had to address it in his press conference. Will the offense show up? Will the defense show up? They barely beat Arkansas last week up in Fayetteville. Can this team deliver? Last year was all on the line. All they had to do was beat Auburn, and they'd be probably playing for an SEC championship. They choked at Auburn. Then they got beat by Texas. Like this, every year it happens. Can the team grow up and actually win a big game on the road in the conference? They won by a point up in Notre Dame because of some potential call or non-call or whatnot. Can they deliver in this ballgame? They didn't deliver at home versus Notre Dame last year. It was this year the changing of that guard where they can actually find a way to win the big game. We said it when we were going to the UCF game about a month ago. When Drew asked, is there underrated or a Heisman candidate nobody's talking about? And I said, you know what? Reed. He's a quarterback for A&M. He's playing well. And I think this game's going to fall on his shoulders, and he is going to find a way to grind out the win for the Aggies and put the last stake on the LSU football team. Because also, I think there's this fan base is also sort of turning on. And that it's just not going to breed the vibe that LSU needs. If they win, they actually want them to win. Because right now their coaches are calling for Brian Kelly to get fired. It's kind of like a Napier thing. If they win, you're kind of like, well, crap, we're stuck with them for another week. The fans actually deep down might want LSU to lose or at least be okay with a loss because it'll probably get rid of Brian Kelly. I think that's another thing where everyone wants your team to win, but you're like, hey, if we lose, at least Brian Kelly's gone. That'll bring some relief to the LSU Tiger football program because the experiment with BK has not worked. Mike Elko, you need that one big win. And I think Saturday night in Death Valley, the Aggies go in there and get the job done. They're physical at the line of scrimmage on both sides. Their receivers are ready to play. Their running backs are ready to play. And they have a quarterback who is fully healthy and is locked in year 2 of running that offense. And that with Colin Klein calling the right game for him to be successful will lead to an Aggie win and keep them in a conversation to go play for an SEC championship and potentially top 4 seed in the country. If LSU wins this, then we have some serious conversations about a voodoo on Aggie program. But I think Texas A&M finds a way to break through and gets it done on Saturday night in the Bayou.
Vegas always knows more than we do, and it is such a telling sign. This opened up as a 3.5-point favorite. It's down to 2.5. Checking real quick what opening line was. Opened at 2.5 as well. It stayed at 2.5. The fact is that you are making LSU home the underdogs is just blows my mind. I think Mike Elko is the right guy for the Texas A&M job. In our time here, Jimbo Fisher started out over there when we started doing this podcast as well. Mike Elko was over at Duke, built a phenomenal Duke team. This is year 2. And again, I get A&M fans, they think there's some bad juju out there that they're going to be cursed. Listen, even if you lose on Saturday night, your schedule still sets you up pretty much for a guaranteed 9, probably 10 wins. You're probably locked into 10 wins here. You win this game, and 11-1 is in sight in the college football playoff. is easily in sight, and you're probably heading to Atlanta for the SEC title game. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves in this, but it's looking really good for the A&M Aggies here. I love Marcel Reed, man. This kid is a baller. He is absolutely phenomenal. We asked him to do a little bit more with the passing attack this year. You're starting to see that. He's no longer just a scrambling quarterback. Would love to see that completion percentage go up just a hair. He's sitting there at 62%. I'm waiting for LSU to give me a reason to believe. I don't have any ill will towards the LSU Tigers. I don't dislike them at all. I think they're a great program. But I think you made the wrong call and now you're paying for it. Again, I get it. You wanted to move on from Coach O, and you went with Brian. You decided that the best choice was Brian Kelly for this one. Okay, I get it. But just because that was the best choice doesn't necessarily mean it was the right choice as well. So here's the thing. LSU, you got to prove me wrong now. Give me the Aggies in this football game. I think Vegas knows something that we don't fresh, and I'm going to trust Vegas bookmakers on this one. So I like Texas A&M, and I like them by the 2.5. I like them by at least a field goal in this game.
Yeah, this is one, though, if LSU wins this game, that defense is going to have to make plays because the offense is going to struggle. The defense is going to have to play and make a huge change in that locker room, that group, because they're not tackling, they're not covering, they're not rushing the passer, they're not holding the line of scrimmage. They're going to have to deliver an all-world game and let the crowd continue to keep building that fourth quarter. Because the offense, Nussbauer's not going to put up 40. They're not going to put up 38. There's a dysfunction there. You have to play a team game to win. And I just don't think they have the confidence and the ability to do it right now. And it's going to lead to another ugly divorce for Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers.
All right, Fresh. One more game we got to do here before we get to our quick hits. The Houston Cougars are 6-1, 3-1 in the Big 12. This is at 8 p.m. on ESPN. I'm so happy that this is going to be the night game. They're going to Tempe, Arizona to face Arizona State. Arizona State 5-2. A huge win last weekend over Texas Tech. Again, we're looking at Houston. If you watch the Arizona-Houston game, you'll realize Houston won a really impressive game with allowing Noah Fafita to complete 24 out of 26 passes. This was a pretty impressive effort by Houston. 132 yards on the ground. Connor Wegman, former five-star from Texas A&M, is their starting quarterback there. Sam Levitt, though, is back for Arizona State. I'm having a hard time betting against the Sun Devils at home. Right now, 7.5 points. Sun Devils are the favorite. Over-under is 47.5 in this one. Fresh, what do you got for this one? Because I like Houston a lot. It's a nice story here, but I get kind of BYU feels from it.
I mean, we know who Arizona State is. If Sam Levitt's playing, they're in a great spot. I'm not going to talk about that because Arizona State, whatever Kenny Dillingham's done there, they have a vibe and they have a buy-in, and that team is playing really, really well. They had a learning issue versus Mississippi State, and they lost the game without their quarterback earlier on. But when he's playing, they're locked in. This is all about Houston. Is Houston for real, or are they a paper tiger? They beat Stephen F. Austin, Colorado, Oregon State, Rice, Oklahoma State, and Arizona. 2 of those teams have already fired their coaches this season. They only lost to Texas Tech, and that game was never competitive. The only ranked opponent, by the way, they played, they are at home, and they got drugged. They have West Virginia, UCF, TCU, and Baylor after this. West Virginia, UCF, probably winnable games if they're even with the roster they have right now. TCU and Baylor are probably going to be L's. So if you lose this game, you're looking at 9-3 or 8-4 right now, and everything kind of falls apart down the stretch. If you win this game, you're in a great spot. Connor Wegman, I mean, the offense is kind of weird because some of the receivers have high completion percentage but low catch total, so it's been a boom or bust offense from the passing attack. Coach Willie Fritz, what he did at Tulane was great, and you see some of the structure there, but the competition's at a little higher level, and at times I just don't think they have all the weapons yet. This is going to be a chance. Where do you stack up? How do you evaluate that game for Texas Tech, and what have you learned from there to get you to this point? If you are, I put you in my top 25. You're not currently in there because I just have not seen you beat a legit football team yet. And the Arizona squeaking by them showed me that there is still there's not all it's not all it seems. This is your chance to prove. What are you? Are you paper tiger or are you real? Arizona State, they are desperate. They are fully locked in. They're 2-0 versus ranked opponents. Obviously, they have 2 losses early in the year. They have got to play perfect the rest of the way. And I have more faith in the coach and the quarterback. And I really think Arizona State is going to just continue to keep building the momentum they have. And they're going to take out the Cougars. And it might not be close. I think they easily cover.
I think they're going to easily cover this game as well. Although there is this part of me that felt like as I was watching the Arizona-Houston game, every time that Arizona threw a haymaker, Houston somehow had a response. Whether it was Dean Connors, whether it was a throw by Wegman, something. They had a response in that football game. Are they able to do the same thing against Arizona State? Is every single, you talk about paper tiger, are they going to fold over? Are they going to fold, like when Arizona State goes up 14-0, are you going to fold and allow them to put you 3 and out, get the ball back and go up 21-0? Or are you going to be able to fight back? Are you going to be able to throw your own haymakers? They're able to do that against Arizona. Arizona is a better football team that people are going to give them credit for. No Fafita, phenomenal quarterback. I'll be curious to see if he stays at Arizona at the end of the season. I got a feeling that kid's going to jump in the portal and someone's going to go after him a little bit here. But Houston, we're going to learn a lot about the Houston Cougars right now after this weekend. I don't even need to see them beat Arizona State in this game. I just need to see them play them tough. That's the measuring stick that we judge them by. Arizona State, you can't be looking ahead either, though. And that's the dangerous thing in this one. 1 week later, they got to go up to Ames, Iowa and play Iowa State. And those games are always instant classics. And I know Matt Campbell's got that game circled on the schedule. So, again, Houston could jump up and bite Arizona. The Cougars could sink their teeth into them. But give me the Sun Devils in this one because I think Sam Levitt will be locked in and they want another chance at – they're going to see BYU in that national or in the Big 12 title game.
Yeah. I mean, this is I think Houston might be a year away. This is year 2 of Willie Fritz's rebuild of that program. But if they can show signs of life and fight for a full 4 quarters, which they haven't done already in a big game, that will show them growth and they'll show maturity so they've learned from their experiences. But if I'm Arizona State, you have nothing to lose. You have to keep your foot down the entire time. Not only do you have to win, you have some style points. Because if you don't win the Big 12, you're fighting out for a fringe playoff spot. And you already have 2 losses. How do you make up for that? That means beating a team that's 6-1 by 2 touchdowns, 20 points, and having people remember that. So if Kenny Dillingham has a position where he has to put it on, expect them not slowing the horses down. They're going to put their foot down the gas and all gas, no brakes mentality. So this is a big statement win in the Big 12 for both these teams and who can actually deliver and keep them and really make a big push toward a fringe playoff spot and keeping their season alive.
All right, Fresh, let's hit some quick ones real quick because there's a couple other games out there that are sneaky good. Give me what you got going on in the ACC.
Syracuse, Georgia Tech. Houston 3 straight losses. Tech driver's seat in the ACC with Miami's loss. North Carolina State, BC, and Pitt before they have the Georgia Bulldogs coming in. Can Georgia Tech keep their blinders on and stay focused? Because Syracuse, they made a big upset last year that really shook it all up, beating Miami. Can Georgia Tech take a deep breath and maintain? The pressure's on them. Now we've gone to 100 mode. Now they are being hunted. Can Georgia Tech maintain their focus on Saturday? That's what I'm looking for.
I love it.
Well, I think you have some looks at you're looking at the Big 12. Give me some talk about your quick hit in the Big 12.
Showdown time. One of my favorite games in college football here, Fresh. One of the best rivalries in the Big 12. It's Kansas State. It's Kansas. It's Avery Johnson versus Jalen Daniels. 2 quarterbacks who are going to go at each other. Neither guy's turned the ball over. Kansas, 2.5-point favorite in this game. They're at home. It's been a while since the Jayhawks has won this one. Give me Rock Chalk Jayhawk to finally win the Sunflower Showdown. Hey, and remember, we're big in Topeka, Fresh.
We're big in Topeka, big in Wichita. I really like that pick. I think this is the year that the Jayhawks finally break through. Believe me, K-State owns this rivalry in the Sunshine State, this Sunflower State. It just has a feeling Jalen Daniels and that offense are finally going to break through. I'm staying in the Big 12. My next quick hit, BYU at Iowa State. BYU has a big emotional win in the Holy War. Iowa State, when they're not expected to win somehow, Matt Campbell, a very good coach, can he keep them alive, pull off an upset? And if BYU's mentally, are they focused after that emotionally Holy War win with a lot of expectations to keep going? So that's the more psyche of BYU. How are you able to maintain disregard the Utah win, stay refocused, and realign for Iowa State and move forward. That's a lot right there. Championship football teams are able to refocus on Mondays and get themselves focused and not dwell on the Saturday win for very long. I think you also have another quick hit from the state of Iowa.
It's the Iowa Hawkeyes here, fresh. Minnesota is going into, again, underrated game. Both teams 5-2, 3-1 in the Big Ten. I'm interested to see what kind of offense we're going to get out of Iowa here. I think that this is a interesting test for them. I think both of these teams are kind of fighting for that mid-card role in the Big Ten there. But again, Iowa's looked really good at Kinnick Stadium. I have a very hard time betting against them. They're 8.5-point favorite. I don't know if they'll cover the 8.5 because I don't think their offense is strong enough, but that defense is lights out. So give me the Hawkeyes in an intriguing game at Kinnick Stadium.
Quietly put them. They win that. They're 6-2, just wading in the weeds there. Wading in the weeds.
All right, Fresh. What's your fresh pick this week?
We are 5-6 on the year in fresh picks. I really appreciate Georgia Tech for getting that win last week and getting me back over the hump. This week, I'm taking SMU to cover the 3.5 at Wake Forest. The Mustangs keep moving forward, improve to 4-0 in the ACC. They look to try to go win a title, but I think they're going to cover the 3.5 at Wake Forest. Hopefully, get me back to 6-6 on the year.
I definitely think they got that one covered. So, yeah. All right, folks, you've been listening to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're part of Spinnable Sports, so make sure you check out spinnablesports.com. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this possible. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Get notified every single time we drop a new episode. Like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Engage with us on social media. Fresh Week 9 is down. Here we go. We got another one, and you will be in Viva Las Vegas for this one, so it's going to be a fun time for you. I'm still domesticated.
Hopefully all the bets start hitting on Saturday and Sunday, and we start driving home some big wins and big money. We'll definitely share some winners if they do come my way from the casino floor there in Las Vegas, but really excited about it. Boys will be out there, and hey, it's college football season, Week 9. We're moving that threshold now down the stretch into November after that, where they always say, be remembered in November, and that's the big time. So this is that last moment to sort of set yourself apart before the stretch run for the college football playoff and championship weekend. Science fans, everyone hits it up. Subscribe to the Irrational Confidence Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube Spinnable Sports channel. Hit us up at spinnablesports.com. Hit us up on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Engage. Hit us up whenever you want. We want to hear from you. And put us in the comments on the YouTube channel as well. Spread the word. Let's build it. Let's keep momentum building just like a playoff team down the stretch.